Hello and welcome to another interesting edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Onuchi. Today on the Hangout, Federal High Court annuls electricity tariff increment. And Lagos APC senators condemn Senator Dino Melaye for attacking Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Babajide Kolade Otitoju is here in the studio with me. And we also have Dikbo Olayokun and Benga Onitilo. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show today. All right, now let's start with the issues on hand. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, recently announced an increase in electricity tariff. This was shortly after the House of Representatives described the distribution company's discos as the biggest scam in Nigeria and called on the federal government to halt any tariff by 100% in the country. But the Federal High Court has now annulled the 45% increase in electricity tariff and described NERC's action as irrational, irregular, and illegal. The court said that NERC has not shown that it acted in due obedience to the prescribed procedures. Now, the ruling has since been applauded by Nigeria Labour Congress, that's the NLC. Now, do you see the NERC or NERC and discos reversing the increment? But before we go to that question, I'll start with you, Benga. Is this 45% ruling by the courts something to cheer? What's your reaction to it?
One of the things we need to look at, there are guidelines within the act that set up the National Electricity Regulation Commission. There's an act that sets them up. There's an act that guides increase in tariff. And also, not also missing the fact that there's a court action to stay proceedings in regards to increase in tariff. One of the few things is when you want to increase tariff based on the act, you first need to have some level of publication in the newspapers. Two, you need to create awareness for the consumers and the stakeholders about it. You need to also get their feedback on it and get some level of engagement, whether it is acceptable or not, or is worthy of note or not. Only one criteria has been fulfilled.
Which is? Which is
just published in the newspaper that you're going to increase tariff. All the other key ones, the due process that goes into all, have not minding the fact there's also a court order as well that commands that there should be a stay of action on this issue. Because last year, I think April or so, May or April, that there was a court judgment about a lawyer that went against the Regulatory Commission, and that the price, the tariff should not be reviewed. But they still went ahead and violated the court order and gave back to an increase, I think about over 60% at that time. Now the court order is still there. The court has not vanquished the order. But now they are going back again without meeting all the minimum requirements that demands for you to bring about the tariff increase. Also, there have been epileptic power supply. People have not been having enough power supply.
Despite the
increase. Despite the charges. So it's a lot of anomaly. And you have institutions of government that are now, they are committing acts of tyranny against the law. And you can listen to what the judge was saying, that nobody is above the law. He even went ahead to even speak against the executive, the recklessness at which they go about. Because you are the executive, that nobody is above the law. The law is above everybody. Until the court vanquish that order, it must stay. You can't review upward the tariff. Also, even the National Assembly has come out to say the same thing. So the question we are asking is, do we have institutions that will not obey the rule of law, and we have institutions of government that are above the law? Or even the government itself, is it government above the law? Those are the questions you'll be asking. Whose interest is being served here when you are not providing power, but you want to increase tariff? People are not enjoying service.
Adikbo, let's get your feel of this.
Yes, I think why Nigerians really jubilated after this judgment was because they saw it as a humiliation. Let me use the word in quote. of the people that thinks they are above the law. Before the last increase, there were, like Benga said, there was a substituting order. Because this matter did not start today.
Of course.
This matter started when the last administration was in place. And it has to do with the electricity reforms that they brought about some years back, which eventually gave rise to what we will call privatization or selling of PACN to all these discos, gencos, and stuff. And there were some terms that were included in the agreement they signed. There's this thing they call multi-year tariff, something, MYTO, that gives them the liberty to increase prices or tariff periodically based on certain conditions. One, the first condition is that you must have provided sufficient or appreciable power supply to Nigerians. Two, there should be enough sensitization, like people getting aware, people getting involved, and then people saying, okay, we agree with you, go ahead. Yes, under the last NERC of Dr. Sam Amadi, there was, it's like this kahoo between the NERC then and those guys that eventually bought the PACN, which gave rise to all this disco genco thing. That it's like NERC was just kowtowing to these guys. Whatever they say is what NERC will stamp. And that was why some guys like Barrister Adeola went to court to say, yes, we know that you guys are going to increase, but there should be a court order stopping you from increasing. But because elections were approaching, then the last administration wanted to increase. But because of the elections, based on that law, they stayed put. So when when Minister Fashola, when he became minister, and then he okayed the increment, Nigeria said no. One, there are some conditions these guys ought to have fulfilled. They have not met it. As a matter of fact, we have to be saying to ourselves, Nigeria on its own ought to have provided certain things for these guys, which were not provided. But that is no license for them to also breach the terms of the agreement. That, apart from that, there is a substituting order that says you guys should maintain status quo while we treat this issue, which some guys have brought before us. You guys want to increase. Let us determine, looking at the parameter and then the factors available, whether it was justifiable. And all of a sudden, they increased, and the minister was trying to justify that increment, which was provocative, was unnecessary, and illegal. So now that the judgment has come, you will see anger in the judgment of it. It's like the man was even going beyond the issue before him. There was anger. Anger in the sense that they had violated one of the laws, one of the judgments, that an order of the court, stay action until we dispose of this matter. They went ahead and they were going everywhere telling us that nothing can stop the increment. Very annoying, very provocative. Now that the court has given a ruling, it is welcomed. As to whether they will pay, it's not in contention. There's a judgment until they appeal it. I don't think they have any reason not to obey.
Okay, so let me throw the question to you now, Jide. Do you see the NERC, going by this judgment means?
Well, if they do not respect the judgment, then it will mean that we are inviting anarchy. Because the reality is, yes, there is a law that permits you to make this kind of increment. That was what Fashola was talking about when he said nobody, that even the National Assembly cannot stop the increment. But the reality is, if you breached the extant laws in effecting an increase in tariff, the law courts are there to set things right. In this case, before you can increase tariff, you must ensure that it is gazetted. You must ensure that there is sufficient sensitization. You put it in the newspapers for people to know that this tariff increase is coming. But in this case, there was no gazetting. It just went ahead and increased. And before even the court gave the ruling, the House of Reps had begun a public hearing on the matter, and the House of Reps requested that they should stay action until the end of the public hearing. But they showed disrespect to the House of Reps and proceeded to make the increment happen. What the judge is saying is, look, there are some conditions precedent before you can effect this kind of increase. And one of the most, one of the things that I found really impressive about what the judge said was the fact that the people ought to pay for only what they've consumed. We know that estimated billing has not stopped. In my house now, I do not have the prepaid meter. So they still bring estimated billing. They still do estimated billing for me and for so many other people. Sometimes it's high. Suddenly you see that it comes down. So I just keep asking myself, what really is the matter with these people? There was a particular month that they brought like 18,000. There was another month that they brought 6,000. So it's like they just do what they like. They just do what they like. And there were occasions when for maybe in a whole month, I didn't really enjoy electricity cumulatively for more than 10 days. But you still find that the bill will be similar to what they brought in the preceding month where you had, you enjoyed electricity to an extent. So the reality is, I believe that this is a good judgment. If they know what they are doing, they should abide by it. In any case, what are we even talking about? Fashola wants Nigerians to be patient, to pay and then expect electricity later. And that's not going to happen. We can't pay and then expect electricity later, because right now they are actually serving us darkness. So if we are serving us darkness, how do you expect Nigerians to be encouraged to pay for this? You don't just throw the law at us that, oh, the law is, has ensured that even the National Assembly cannot intervene in this matter. But when you breach the law, then the courts are there. Let the courts interpret. So in this case, I believe that this is a good judgment. In a season of darkness, as we are talking about, they are having their stakeholders meeting in Kaduna. The electricity confraternity, Fashola is there, all of them, they are there. They've admitted today that that electricity generation has gone down from about 5,000 megawatts to around 3,000. I don't even want to believe that it's up to 3,000.
Less than 2, sir.
I don't want to believe that it's up to 3,000, because we know that as a rule, we should not expect people in government to tell us the truth at all times. So if you are serving me darkness, how do you expect me to be encouraged to pay a lot more for darkness? Now we are going to be paying 50 naira per kilowatts from 24. That's significant. So what it means is that it will inflict greater pain on the already impoverished Nigerian masses. So that's why we needed somebody to stand up and say, look, this is wrong. So, and I'm very impressed with even the fact that the judge went out of his way to say, the executive, you cannot continue to choose what court orders you obey. In fact, I brought, he said, it is intolerable and extremely dangerous for any branch of the executive to embark on actions indicating that it may choose not to obey the orders of the courts. That is tantamount to executive recklessness, which may lead to lawlessness. Let me warn that no matter how high or low you may be, the law stands above you. Lawlessness, arbitrariness, and executive recklessness in the exercise of powers conferred by law will never be condoned. That was a fantastic judgment from Justice Ibrahim Idris.
All right, now moving on quickly to you, Binga. Obviously, from what the judgment is, that the certain requirements have not been met, shows that there are loopholes that the NERC, that's the NERC, and the discourse are not meeting up with. Why? And there hasn't been a probe into the privatization of this power sectors. What is really going on within the sectors that is actually hampering them from carrying on the duties they are supposed to do effectively, from your point of view?
Beyond the probe, there is what you call operational guidelines. Beyond just evaluating and saying how much we're the discos and the gencos sold. What about the operational guideline? The other question you should ask, why is the regulator always on the side of the discos? These have been privatized. You have the NCC, for example, in telecoms. It never rallies around most times on the side of the telecoms company. You remember the fine slammed on the MTN?
Yes.
And they pushed and ensured that that went through. And they had to pay over a period of about 3 to 5 years. So the part of the question, what are the operational guidelines guiding the operations of those people? Those are the things I think that needs to be brought out to the open force before you now go, before you even say you want to go into probe. Nigerians want power. Any economy that does not have power supply can never move forward because power is the engine that drives everything. It's what drives production, what drives manufacturing, is even what drives the SMEs and businesses. Because right now you even have banks that close at 5:30 because of power supply. Even now diesel has gone haywire. The price of diesel has even gone haywire, kerosene and all that. So now the question you begin to ask yourself, who are the beneficiaries of all the mess? The same people in the power sector are the same people playing in oil and gas. And now you have a regulator that is not, the regulator is supposed to bring about level playing ground and most times even protect the consumers.
But it seems it's not playing that role.
So now the question we now begin to ask is the person sitting over NERC, is he worthy of that position? Also, you need to start asking yourself, the Minister for Power Supply, Raji Fashola, you need to be asking him, does government exist for entities in the private sector or for the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Whose interest is he about? Because it has always been said he's an elitist person when it comes to governance. And this keeps resounding. It's resounding all over.
He left no doubt.
The agenda he pushed in Lagos is coming over at the federal level. Because now the interest of the people is not what is at the forefront of things. And now I think it's high time the civil society groups, NLC, and everybody come together and rise up against the tyranny of people within this sector. And also, I think the National Assembly have started an hearing, and I think they should go further and invite all these stakeholders within the power sector to come give account. We need to have a serious public hearing on this issue. The Minister for Power Supply also needs to come and explain to Nigerians whose interests are you serving. Because beyond the probe, just leave the probe alone first. We need to address the operational guidelines. We need to establish what is the role. Fashola is not supposed to be on the side of these people. He's supposed to be on the side of the people of Nigeria. He's supposed to be on the side of Nigeria. That's the purpose of governance. Create an enabling environment for people. The welfare and the security of people are the primary responsibility of government. So when you are doing this and you are promoting people that have not even invested anything.
You are saying nobody can do anything about it.
That's tyranny. Even these people in the power sector have invested nothing yet, even into the power sector. Nothing has really been invested. Deplorable infrastructural states, they've not even invested anything, but they have turned us to the investors to help them fund their own
They don't even have the financial capacity to drive this whole process. Because you know government had to... Yes, government had to bail them out.
2 bailouts.
You know, more than 100 billion was given to them.
About 230 billion, Jonathan.
If you have sold an item to someone, it has become his own, he's taking it all around. Do you still now reach into your pocket to give him money to continue to fund them after you sold?
Look at the telecoms companies. Who gave the government never gave them any fund, and they started at the worst of deplorable state, no power. And these guys started and they were putting 2 generators at every base station over a period of time. It's a long-term investment. It shows they don't have access to the funding. Number 2, they don't have the technical capacity to even... So we need to revisit the award also, like you said earlier, we need to revisit this issue of the licenses that were awarded. It shows these guys only came as revenue collectors.
Oh, the privatization has to be looked at.
It has to be looked at. I think we need to really have a public hearing on it.
We have to look at it.
Dikwa, you want to react to this? Okay.
Let me start by the fear Nigerians expressed when the president released his ministerial nominees, and on the day of swearing in, and Mr. Fashola was made the minister for
Power,
works,
Combined three portfolios.
and housing. Yes, he's very cerebral. He's articulate. Nobody is against him being made a minister, but not a ministry that will serve the people of Nigeria. I mean, that have direct bearing on the masses. Because, like Benka said, if you look at his antecedent, he's so elitist in his thinking and he's so elitist in his performance. Now, to the issue of the problem of what we have now, that we have the disco junkos. It is very, very unfortunate, and I don't envy this current government. It's one of the rots of the past administration that they inherited. How do I mean? I think the two gentlemen have made some passing remarks. That critical area was made like a paddy thing. My friends, I'm leaving office, or I'm in office, come and take this. They never considered their technical and financial capacity. Do these people have the technical wherewithal and the financial capacity to go into this? Because the energy sector is capital intensive.
Yeah.
And you see, typical of Nigerian businessmen, what they want to do is they want to invest today. That is even if they invested at all and reap the following money. We have some credible and companies that bidded for this thing. And they were shut. It's like they shut the door against them.
No, they have to get rid of Batinaji
because, God bless you, the Batinaji of his thing is out there.
Get rid of him first.
So it is very, very unfortunate. And I think I'm only going to the mind of the people in government now. What do we do?
Yes, the way forward.
Do we revoke these licenses? And what happens? In the interim, there will be darkness, Nigerians will be shouting, yes, this is their change. Or do we continue to pamper these people? Probably until they are able to find their feet. I am thinking that is the dilemma that is facing the government
now.
No, but there has to be a
period of transition now.
No corporation can be bigger than government.
Of course.
Because already they have sold these things.
There has to be a level playing field because
what happens
if the
process was flawed.
No, it is very glaring that it was flawed.
Then they should do something about it.
You can't be bigger than government.
Are you getting my point? So I think the government will have to take the bull by the horn and damn the consequences. If yes, there are going to be litigations. But as we have rightly observed, he who must come to equity must come with clean hands. They have violated some aspect of the agreement they signed.
Several.
So the issue of, okay, on what basis are we going to revoke it, is already, the foundation has been laid. Because they themselves have violated. You need to go and read these reforms and then the agreement. They have violated it on so many occasions. So I think the government should be thinking of, at least, I am thinking the government should be looking at new investors while they are thinking of what to do to people. Because it is very glaring now. These guys doesn't have what it takes to take the Nigerian electric energy sector to the next level. They don't have the capacity.
All right, Jide, if the government is to revoke the licenses and all of that, seeing that obviously that the government is working based on templates from the previous government, shouldn't it have on ground certain structures before bringing in, say, investors to say, this is how we want you to work and you must follow through?
People have been kicked out of their meal tickets before in this country. See, they brought some people to improve the generating capacity of Egbe Thermal Station, and they achieved so much. Today, Egbe can give you in excess of 2,000 kilowatts, Egbe alone. Kanji will give you about 700 megawatts. The improvement that happened in Egbe was made possible by private sector people. So if with Egbe, we can talk about a success story, I believe that if they find the right people, some of the other generating companies.
All right, we have Mahmoud from Lagos. Mahmoud, go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
And my group from Abajide and the rest of the crew members there.
Good evening.
You know, the NEPA issue is that they just sold the former administration. They just sold the, hello, are you hearing? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, the former administration, what they just did is that they just sold the NEPA or whatever, or power holding something to their cronies and friends and left Nigeria in distress. That's just what happened. And Nigerians have been clamoring for a change of that decision. But since they don't want to change it before they left, and the new regime is come, we just have to persuade Fasholana, the action man, who is in charge of Minister of Power, to reverse that decision, and that will be good for Nigerians. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mahmoud.
The point I was making, these guys don't have the capacity. How much longer should we wait before we do what is right? The problem with governments in Africa is that the will to take the strong decisions is usually lacking. If you say today that, okay, these people should go, you are most likely going to find, if you are honest about your search for the right people, you are most likely going to find people better than these ones, because some of them are bankers,
oil marketers,
oil marketers, all kinds of people without any background at all in electricity generation. They found themselves there. Where are we today? The reality is that they have not really delivered. And if they have not delivered, must we continue to keep them there? We must take a drastic action and let them go and find the right people. We will find the right people. Even Nigerians, there are Nigerians who can do this. Yes. We have Nigerians who are nuclear scientists, who have helped to build power plants even outside this country. We have them. We have them. So there are people that we can use. I don't want to talk about Nigerians that I know who help to build power plants even in Angola and other African countries. We have good people. But the problem is governments always go for the dregs when they want to give opportunities for people to serve their fatherland. They go for the dregs, the worst of the worst. Those are the people that they go for. And when they fail, they will start complaining. And then they expect me to pay for darkness. No, it's not right.
All right, now we take a break, signing off the entertainment platform, but you can join us on DSTV channel 418 because the show continues. All right, it's still Journalist Hangout, and we're still looking at this month. The bill is increased. The next month, you know, on what basis are these payments made, or this consuming of electricity? On what basis is it made, or what parameters are they made, rather? And now the issue of metering has been an ongoing issue for a long time. Why are we still going back and forth with this?
You know, they had a mandate and a deadline, I think about 90 days then. That was supposed to elapse end of April, that they are going to meter everybody. Why our latest minister also came out and gave some words on that people need to pay if you want it and all that. And they never actually met that target. You still have more than 80% of Nigerians unmetered. And what they do, like Jide rightly said, is this. They already know the percentage that meters. The remaining percentage, they just apportion. Because I've worked on Ireland before, for example. I worked on Ireland some years back. When we were working on Ireland, most of the business office, they just allocate, every district has a target that they need to, a revenue they need to bring in. And most of the people in all these business areas, they are not even on meter. So what they do is they just apportion and break it out to everybody. And whether you have consumption, because I was working with a foreign company then, and our diesel cost in a month, we were sharing it in the building, it's a complex. We were paying 300,000 as our own portion of diesel in a month. While our electricity bill, our portion of electricity bill was about 150,000. So the German company that I was working for believed we were doing some form of, they said, how come you don't have power supply in a month and your NEPA bill remains the same and your diesel cost goes higher? It's an anomaly. And that's the way the whole world looks at us. They are celebrating in places like Germany that because they were over generating power supply. For people that are not using so much of it, they are even giving them incentives. They're giving people incentives. But we are still in survival mode because we are giving a critical infrastructure that will drive our economy to rent seekers. So now that you don't have metering, you don't have about over 70% don't have meters. Even the minister, if you were in normal climes, the Minister of Power will have resigned.
All right, quickly, before you go ahead, we have Bode from Ikorodu. Hello, Bode, are you there?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, good evening to gentlemen and lady over there. Yes, my contribution concerns this court annulment of 45% increase in the tariff. Yes, I think it's a welcome development, really. And the first test to the government will be to see that all these operators obey this court ruling. That is, the first thing we have to ensure. Because the executive, they always have a way of showing that they are above the law. You see, and they are always by the side of the operators at the detriment of the Nigerian populace. Thank you.
Thank you, Bode, for your contribution. Well,
So as I was saying, the issue now is, do you have a deadline to have Nigerians metered, which they all agree? I think it was about 90 days agenda that they had. Till today, that issue has gone under the drain, and nobody is talking about it. If you were in saner climes, you will have your minister for power. He will have resigned by now. But obviously, we live in a place where people get into power and die there, whether they are performing or not. Because really, you begin to ask yourself, the president needs to start asking himself, do you even set KPIs for these guys? How do you measure their performance? In countries like in Kigali, Rwanda just there, ministers have KPIs. They evaluate you like every 90 days. You don't perform their issues. The question is, how do we even know what the KPIs of these guys are? And the way we are measuring the KPI is the impact whether they are policies is having our own lives. Yes. But the president needs to start evaluating his team. Some of them cannot handle what they have. It's clear. Fashola cannot handle this portfolio. The president needs to make a decision and get a technical and a sound person that is as resolute like the former CBN governor to come manage this power sector.
But I think it would be very, very unfair to say somebody who took over in November, and we are now in July or so, that is has proven that is incapable. Maybe there's need for us to go back into history. Sometimes in January 2014, the former NERC boss, Samamadi, was on a radio station, and I listened to him, that those guys, they are under obligation that within the next 6 months, which will terminate in June 2014, that they will have given every home in Nigeria, every house in Nigeria, prepaid meter. And it was going to be on the basis of that they were going to increase the tariff, that he was under instruction by the then president. That June came, they didn't meter anything, and they increased their tariff then. But Nigerians kept quiet.
Now, under Fashola, have we not increased
that's what I'm saying. That this thing
do we all have meters now?
This thing did not start today.
No. What was he done to remedy the situation? Has he done anything different?
What we are saying is that for us to be telling somebody who just took over 7 months
No.
when some people
Look,
were there
we need to realize that every administration is stamped.
Let me take something.
Let him land.
So what we are doing is, these people have gotten used to breaching agreements. Are you getting my point? So the point we are going to say now is, what is the next move? What do we do next? It is not a matter of inciting anybody, either in Labour Congress or inciting civil society groups. What is necessary is that the government needs to do the needful. The needful is that these people have proven to everybody that they are not capable of rendering this service to Nigerians. And the government has so many reasons and bases to, first of all, revoke the agreement. Then, by that time, I think they should bring in, like Jide said, people that have what it takes to give us this electricity. It is not a matter of whether Fashola is capable or not. It is a matter of what did they meet on the ground? And is it possible for him between November and now? It is not possible. Unless we are talking of a magician.
Well, the reality is, we don't need a magician in government.
Yes.
I don't expect him to have solved all the problems, but I want to see what steps
he's taking.
What's the blueprint?
This is a situation in which the minister is not even communicating properly. What do you want to do? You talk about those guys not being capable. We all know that. Has your minister ever admitted it, that these guys will not take us to the promised land?
Never.
He has never ever berated them in any way.
He takes sides with them, with everything he does.
So that means that we are condemned to continue to do things in the same way, like the former administration. In fact, he famously even praised the power roadmap of the Jonathan administration. It's there. You can Google it. Fashola was praising the power roadmap, and he said he will continue with that power roadmap. So it's either he does not see what the rest of us see, or he does not feel what we feel, the pains that we feel, or he's just there, he's aloof. Because if he's aloof, then he will not feel your pain. That's why he can say you can do nothing about the power, which I felt was even touchless. Because as a politician, there are ways to even get your message across. Because the federal level is a bigger stage. It's not like Lagos. If you know that yes, we need electricity tariff increment to drive investment in the sector, but there are ways to get your message across. You don't talk to Nigerians like an arrogant person. No.
But let me just
quickly before your comment, please. We have Awal from Kaduna on the line. Awal, are you there? All right. It seems
okay, because some of us, we can sit on this table and say what I want to say. But for somebody in government,
we can't say what we have. When we sit on this table, no, we don't say what we want to say. When we sit on this table, we sit like Nigerians.
But let me
we talk about the pains of the Nigerian people. No, when you talk like that,
no, the minister will say.
So what? So shouldn't we challenge the minister?
Gentlemen, please.
Shouldn't we challenge him to do better?
Yes. The minister's language must encourage investors. He might, in his closet, within his friends,
already know that things are
because
not
the way you
right.
talk to them, they say, if you are treating these people like this, how are we sure that when we come in, you don't know what
you can't tell Nigerians that. You can't tell Nigerians. It is not dignified language to tell Nigerians that, look, whether you like it or not, this tariff will happen.
You are paying for that.
Gentlemen, we have to move quickly to the next topic. But before we go to the next topic, we'll keep talking about this. What is the way forward? What should the government, what do we expect the government to do?
Well, we've kept on resounding it.
One of the first things, nail it on the head before
one of the first things you need to do, what was the operational guideline for setting this thing up? Now, if this judge has not made this ruling, a lot of Nigerians will not even know there is a due process to what? Increasing tariff. And they have consistently fallen short. You have not provided meters for Nigerians. It's part of what is in the regulations. So if we're saying these guys have not breached a lot of things, there are quite a lot of things they've breached. Like Gina rightly said, government in Africa does not have the will to do what needs to be done most of the time. And this is the time, we can't say because the last administration gave you a faulty piece, and you cannot do anything about that, then you step aside, let the people that have the capacity to do that, because you must understand every administration is tenured. You are not there forever.
You're not going to be there forever.
All right. We'll move on now. The Lagos State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has lashed out at the lawmaker representing Kogi West Senatorial District, Senator Dino Melaye, for allegedly threatening to beat up Senator Oluremi Tinubu. That's the wife of the national leader of the APC, Bola Tinubu. His action was also condemned by two senators from Lagos State, Olugbenga Ashafa and Solomon Yaye Adiola. Don't you foresee a dirty fight as this issue further unfolds? Now, Dino Melaye came out to say, I didn't say this, but I spoke to her word for word.
Well, you know, I was speaking with Hayo when I was coming into the studio. When I was saying, can you imagine? Well, some people are saying it's alleged. Sahara Reporters is reporting, several reports go. But where we failed as a citizen is we wipe clean 80% of the people in the National Assembly in the last election. And we now brought in mixed multitude, people that were not even proven. And they rode, most of them even rode on the change mantra to get there. Because if people understand history very well, during the days of Bankole,
Patricia
Ete and co, this guy has always been there.
Yeah.
As a thug.
He has always been beating people up. He has always been fighting till he was suspended from the house. So if Nigerians now still go ahead and say this is the man with people of Kogi, say this is the man we'll find, the only man we'll find in the whole of Kogi to represent our interests in the National Assembly, I think the people deserve the leaders they have. Because we wiped clean 80% of people from the National Assembly and we brought in mixed multitudes, people that we have not even tested or proven. And they all rode on what? The change mantra. And I think at times we deserve the leaders that we have.
All right, quickly, let's take this video of Dino Melaye speaking.
The first thing she said is that she's been harassed in this chamber by Senator Melaye. I kept quiet at that point. She went ahead to say that why will he come here and be threatening senators? And there was a loud chorus from senators. How? When? Senators reacted. At that point, I was still very calm. She got up again and said that this talk must be tamed. At that point, I got up and I told her that she's very stupid. The next statement from her is that you are a dog. She called me a dog. And when she called me a dog, I stood up and I reacted and I told her that this is not body law. And that she should look at my face. I am not one of those senators who normally come to prostrate to her to them in body law. And I told her I am from Kogi State, I am not from Lagos State. And that there will never be a day that I will come to you for political assistance. These were...
All right, Senator Dino Melaye there, obviously denying making certain statements that was said he made. But Dikbo, I would like you to react to what he just said.
If you have studied the political terrain of Nigeria for some time now, it will be very difficult for you to get the truth about any matter, unless you want to deceive yourself. Because A will come with its own issue, and then A, B also, and then there will be people in the middle that are embellishing. But the unfortunate aspect that goes against Senator Dino Melaye is his antecedent. So that whatever they attribute to him, we say, we know he would do it. We can say something. People Nigerians have forgotten. During the Olubunmi Ete saga, when they said he anticipatory approval of some budgetary allocation spending, the Nigerian House of Representatives witnessed a very dirty scenario for a period of time. And in one of those scenarios in the House of Representatives, a member of the House from Kano State, a medical doctor, slumped and died because of the activities of people like Dino Melaye. Because he was behaving, I'm very sorry, I'm not trying to impugn his integrity. He was behaving like one of the thugs to Ete then, that if this woman goes, this place will bring it down. And we all saw the video of wearing torn shirts, trying to beat some women and stuff like that. Eventually, Dimeji Bankole came in as a speaker to replace Olubunmi Ete. And he continued in his unruly behavior until he was suspended. I think he was on suspension until the duration of that, because all of a sudden he became an activist. And perhaps maybe that was why people forgot what he did then. And now he's in the Senate. But I think it would be very unfair if we are blaming the people of Kogi, West or Central, where he's representing. Because the question you asked them, in the last election, how many of them knew the people they were voting for, apart from the president? okay, President is APC. And unfortunately, the presidential election and the election in the National Assembly took place on the same day.
Yeah.
So the moment you turn printed for APC president, at least automatically you do the same. So it is very unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation. But some of us expected that in Africa, age, position, mature people, that you even drop some of those bad behavior you had when you were growing up. But it's unfortunate that he's still continuing. I think it will be in his own interest. Yes, he has done this, but how many Nigerians will believe these things he has said? Nigerians have formed their opinion that what happened and was reported actually what was attributed to him. He needs to go and change.
All right, Judy, let's hear your thoughts.
The way Dino is a Nigerian bearing an Italian name. The way he continues to put the people of Kogi to shame really, really riles me. I said it that it is to my shame. And this is a story that I will tell my children and my children's children. That from Kogi State, we used to have a lawmaker who was nothing but a thug. Dino is not fit to lead a people. He's not fit to represent a people. His place belongs in the motor parks. That's because what we know, even in Africa, we know that when you engage a woman in a verbal exchange, you are going to be the loser at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But he lacks the sobriety and the common sense to even know the right decisions to take when confronted by a woman. Nobody is saying that she was not abused. But I can tell you, if it was Eyinaya Abaribe that was abused in that manner, in that same Senate chambers, Eyinaya Abaribe would not have behaved that way. So that says a lot about him. And when people say, when Dipo said perhaps the people of Kogi did not know who they were voting for, that is not true. They knew. Dino lost his local government. Remember in 2011, he tried to come back after the nonsense that he did in the house and he was kicked out because he was beating people. I remember a particular video during a taste time that Dino was chasing one of the elderly lawmakers from the north. The guy was running towards the door, but because Dino was younger and faster, he caught up with him before he got to the door. And it was raining. The guy was begging, please Dino, and it was raining punches on him. I can never forget. And our people in Kogi rejected him roundly. In all the Yoruba-speaking local governments in Kogi State, there was nowhere that Dino won the election.
Because they know him.
So it's not like people did not know who they were voting for. They knew who they were voting for. They knew that a thug was on the ballot, and they were not going to vote for a thug. But it was in Lokoja and Kotonkarufi were the communities where he got the votes that enabled him to win the election. Obviously, that's not even his traditional base. Dino has many traditional titles, but he has none from his village. Does that not tell you something? So today it is Tinubu's wife that is harassing. And he's boasting that that day will not come when he will come and beg.
That issue.
In politics, we know that he can come. That day can come, you know. And you must know the kind of battles to take on.
Yeah.
If you've chosen to take on someone like Tinubu's wife, and you, Dino, you have merely set the stage for your political funeral. It's as simple as that.
All right, Kingsley from Lagos, are you there?
I'm choosing to take on someone like Tinubu's wife.
Kingsley, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead with your contribution.
Can I make my comment right now? I'm Kingsley from Lagos, and can you hear me? I'm Kingsley from Lagos, and I want to contribute to the issue of, let me first of all say that I'm a close follower of Mrs. Tinubu. I love her religious antecedents, and for many reasons. But in this case, I feel a little bit different We all know what is happening at the National Assembly. We know that it's the issue of, in some places, it is believed to be Saraki versus Tinubu, whether rightly or wrongly, but that is the assumption. And a lot of people believe that Tinubu's wife, highly respected, is representing the position of her husband and that political camp. So Dino here, now, whether he's right or wrong, he's not really representing himself, but he represents an opinion and a group of people. And if you look at the defense he did put up, it was like he was responding to every single abuse that came to him. So I'm not supporting Dino's here, but I'm thinking that if I'm to advise, the other camp, Tinubu's wife camp, should please mellow down. If you look at those who are against Dino's comments here, it is just senators from Lagos. What happens to the senators from other 35 states of the Federation? So Dino may not have a good antecedent here, but let us quickly accept that he is actually representing the larger interest of the Senate, whether wrongly or rightly. He does represent them. Thank you.
Kingsley, how many senators have you spoken with? We know even PDP senators who have come out openly to say this guy was banged out of order, that his conduct was irresponsible. So how do you limit the condemnation to only people from the southwest? That was why I gave the example that if Ayani Abaribe was in that same situation, he would not have behaved like that. This is a guy who has a track record of thuggish behavior. So we can't encourage thuggish behavior. When our representatives misbehave, when they throw caution to the wind, we should tell them the truth. We should not politicize things. It was clear that this guy misbehaved. That's why he's running from pillar to post. Anybody who believes everything that he said there must be unserious. Because some of he didn't say the whole thing.
He was even not even
He didn't say the whole thing, and it was uncoordinated. Still, right there in that Senate, he was comparing even Tinubu's wife to Stella Odua. Did he admit that he said that? Other senators are saying, look, this guy misbehaved. It's as simple as that.
All right, you mentioned something which has to do with the death of his political career, but he said, and I quote, that he wants to be the president and nobody, as in no matter how powerful, can stop him.
He will never be president of Nigeria.
He has the right to aspire.
He will not even get to the point of being able to aspire. He will
but
never
how
be
much
president
impact
of Nigeria.
will all of this drama have?
Look, anyone has the right to aspire to be anything in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
No, you are not right. That is why the Constitution prescribes that mad people, people with insanity are not allowed.
He has not been satisfied.
No, it's you that you are saying. No, he said, you see, the things that I say here are measured. He said the Constitution allows anybody. Didn't you hear that from him? So the Constitution. So I'm not saying that. No. He said anybody. The Constitution does not allow anybody.
We have
you have to have your sanity in place to become.
He's not proving to be insane.
I'm not saying that he's insane. You are probably the one saying that he's insane.
All right, hold on, please. We have Chukudi on the line.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Chukudi, with your contribution.
Yeah, hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. My problem is that, Melaye, are you hearing me? Yeah, the man that called in, the Kingsley that called in does not know what is happening. Dino Melaye is a person who has been known to be a talk from inception. He has been that way, but now let me tell you one thing. It is not that Kogi people voted him in. You know the culture of rigging in Nigerian politics. So what stops him from rigging himself in? That should be known. Now, that man was talking about other senators not condemning Dino Melaye. How many senators in that house are pro what Buhari is doing today? Most of them, majority, about 95%.
Chukudi, thank you for your contribution. All right, quickly, we have to wrap up now, but then we haven't really gotten a reaction from Remi Tinubu's camp. So, but how would you have handled this case, quickly?
Well, I think the matter has not been because we call it the hallowed chamber. That's what we call it. And they are supposed to be distinguished and honorable men and women in that chamber. And these are not the reasons why Nigerians voted them to be there. And we seem to be running a Senate that is clandestine.
Okay.
And so it's really you can't really take the call, because now you're going to have either group coming out to say, well, this or that, but Nigerians are not really clear, except the antecedent of dinner that people know that will be casting aspersion or whatever submissions it comes out with.
All right, Dikpo.
I think an average Nigerian should be worried now because of the type of the Senate we have. If you take a costly look at since 1999, and you look at the various periods of Senate presidents and what becomes of the president, of the Senate that they preside over, I'm going to say it that with Saraki still as the president of that Senate, we'll continue to see things like this.
Today, you want to say something?
Anybody who is a Senate president, Dino will still behave in the way he behaves. He's above character reformation. When you are, psychologists say when you are about 21 years, your character is formed. He's above character reformation. He will continue to behave like that. What I expect to see is, let us test our law. Our law allows for the recalling of bad lawmakers. So I hope that a process of recalling this the shame of Kogi will happen, and then they can be allowed to go to where it belongs.
Are people ready
Thank
to
you,
do so?
gentlemen, for coming on the show this evening. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow, Friday, for the final episode of the program for the week. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Veronica Onuchi. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.